think this is the episode that I'm least prepared in the sense that I have any idea what we're talking about. So it's really on you. Like, I want to get out from here knowing what MCP is because I keep telling everybody that I know, but the truth is that I have no idea. Hi, everybody. I'm Yuval, and you're listening to YAAP podcast by AI21. And today we're talking with Etan Grundstein about the latest trend from the Gen AI world, MCP. Hi, Etan.
Hi, Yuval.
How are you?
I'm doing great. How are you?
I'm okay. That's life, I guess. This is my optimistic self. Can you maybe tell us a bit about yourself?
Yeah, sure. I'm Etan. I'm a technical product manager here at AI21. And I have a lot of experience with software development, from doing it by myself or managing people to do it.
Yeah, writing a lot of code in those product department.
Mainly text and, stories.
Text in cursor, I would say, probably.
A bit in Cursor, but I'm using mostly Cloud Desktop, and I'm writing it by myself and letting AI write the text for me and for developers.
Yeah, so Cloud Desktop and Cursor, I think, take us really to where we want to go today, which is MCP, right? This is the hottest trend, right? When I asked you to come here and talk about something, this was the subject that you said, this is interesting. This is what I want to talk about.
Yeah, sure.
I do have a small confession. I read a lot about it. I listened to a lot of podcasts about it. At this point, I'm not entirely sure what it means, and I'm kind of too afraid to ask. So instead, I just came here and put you on the microphone that I will have a recording of me asking you, what is MCP?
Okay, let's talk about what we had up until MCP. So we had Cloud Desktop or Cursor, different applications that ran on your PC and basically did things for you with talking to a model. You ask a model to do a specific task for you, for example, coding, and it generated code for you. As developers, we don't usually only work with code. We need to be connected somehow to the world, right? For example, a product manager would write a PRD in Notion, or my team leader will open different tasks on Jira for me. Even sometimes the developers open Jira tasks for themselves, right?
Yeah.
So how would you connect your desktop application with these types of systems, such as Notion, Jira, or whatever else? That's where MCP comes in. So up until now, you had to develop different applications yourself, different connections yourself. We've had this concept of tool calling or function calling, where you would tell a model what are the different tools it can use, but then someone needs to implement that usage of the tools, right?
Yeah, and it takes a lot of work. You have to really build the entire system. You have to really put the signature of the function, the JSON calling. Like, there's a lot of stuff going in there.
Like, you can classify it as two things you need to do. One is tell the model how to use this external tool, describe the tool, say what it does, say what each parameter does. And then the other thing you need to do is implement the connection by yourself. So you'll need to write some code and make this integration.
Yeah, because the model, I think, only outputs, right? I need to call a tool, and this is the call. I think this is also why most of the examples we've seen so far with tool use are the weather API, calculator, and maybe Google search, right? The question of who is the president of the United States or something. These are like the main demos that we've seen online.
That's exactly. So you see a lot of demos, and you can run a calculator. You can create a tool that creates jokes, whatever you want. But someone will need to implement this connection if you want to use an external system, such as, let's say, Jira, for example. So that's where MCP came in. And I think the folks that brought this concept to the world are from Anthropic. And I think what happened there, like if I trying to reverse engineer what happened, they used Claude themselves internally and connected it with their own tools. And they saw that something is recurring. And what do good engineers do? They tell Claude to write code for them, but they also recognize patterns that repeat themselves, and they standardize it. So that's what the folks in Anthropic did. They said, okay, we have a desktop application that needs to access an external system. Let's create a standard for it. That's where MCP came in. MCP is a model context protocol. It's a standard, it's a protocol where you have an application that uses an LLM, and it needs to use an external resource.
Maybe give me an example. Please, no calculators or weather API, something that I can actually understand, see maybe how I use it in real life.
Sure. An example. So you're working on your project that your team leader assigned you to. You need to implement this new functionality in your backend. For that, you have a PRD that the product defined and wrote in Notion, and you went and broke it down into smaller tasks in Jira, and now you need to implement each task on your own. So traditionally, what you would do is you would read what you need to do in the subtask and start implementing it. But now we have models, and you can use them to implement your functionality. So what you would do is you will enter the Jira ticket, copy the text of it maybe, paste it in your cursor or in your Claude desktop, say, this is the functionality I need to implement, this is my code base, and start implementing the code for me. That would be like the vibe coding.
It's not even vibe coding. I think that nobody, like PRDs, it's so long. I don't think I ever read one in full.
You don't need to write, and I don't need to write PRDs right now because we have models. So I'll use a model to write a PRD, and then you'll use a model to read that PRD for you.
How much of the PRD is written by a language model? Be honest.
I used to write a lot by myself, but right now I'm trying new stuff and trying to offload a lot of the tedious work to a model.
With MCP?
I'm transitioning to MCP. Oh. It's not all a bed of roses. We'll get to that, but it's getting more and more, like the content being generated is getting more and more from models. Also the code, and bit by bit we can take a step back and let models do.
And sit here in the studio and talk about models instead of actually using them.
Actually, the content for this this podcast was generated by AI. No, I'm just kidding.
And we are also generated by. You can see all the artifacts. Okay, never mind. Sorry for the tangent. Let's go back. We have this example.
The use case, So instead of going back and forth, copying Jira tickets to your cursor and asking the model to do things for you, what you can do is ask the model to fetch the latest ticket that was assigned to you and start implementing. And also, you can ask it, if there's any missing functionality, let me know, and comment in the Jira. Tag the product manager for extra clarifications and change the ticket status to blocked or anything. So everything can be done within a single client, which is either the Claude Desktop or Cursor IDE, or there are lots of different clients right now.
And this is only possible because of MCP?
This is not possible because of MCP. They made it a standard and the gates just opened. And a lot of companies went ahead and implemented their MCP connections, their MCP servers. by themselves. And that's the thing that happened here. So you can see that there's a buzz, but the buzz is backed by action.
The buzz is real.
The buzz is real. It's backed by a lot of integrations implemented by software vendors.
Okay, so there was a lot of it's amazing, it's happening example, which was nice. Let's dive into the details a little bit now, so I
Sure.
can actually understand what MCP is.
Yeah, sure. So up until now, we've mentioned that there's this desktop app, let's say Cloud Desktop, and we have this external resource such as Jira.
Jira. Cool.
What MCP brought is two concepts. MCP server, this service that wraps the external resource, and the MCP client, the thing that Cloud Desktop will use in order to interact with the server. Now, this is it. This is what MCP is.
So I can think of the server being the app, right? And the client is the app, and the server is the tool. And I can have a lot of tools, so one client can have a lot of servers.
Okay, so a bit here, like describing what happens inside. A server is a toolkit. It has a lot of tools in it. Usually they will wrap a single resource. So if you have a Jira, you can have different tools. One tool for Jira would be create a ticket. One would be search for a ticket. The server will expose the entire set of these tools.
And the tools are the methods that you can call in this API, let's say.
Yeah, in this contract between client and server.
Yes.
And the client, as you mentioned, would be this desktop application that will know how to use it. So that's about it. That's the protocol. What happened next was, since they defined this protocol, they did it on November 24.
Yeah.
Different software vendors started implementing these MCP servers, and everything got connected really easily because there's one way to do it, and each client can connect to this server in the same way.
So now I, as a developer, if I want to, let's say, build something that can read messages from Slack and then update them on Jira, I don't have to implement all the tool calls myself, right? I can just connect to the Jira MCP and the Slack MCP. And I won't say 5 minutes, but it will take me like a few hours to do that.
It will take you 5 minutes to get...
it will take me 5 minutes to do that.
To do that, to connect... Okay, it depends on one thing. How much you can convince your IT manager to provide you with a set of credentials.
And also how fast you can code. Like 5 minutes is not... Never mind, doesn't matter. 5 minutes, 5 hours, still very fast to do that.
I see. You mean implementing a server?
Yes.
Yeah, implementing a server, it depends. It's not a difficult task. The MCP protocol, what they intentionally did is that implementing a server should be as the easiest part. So clients are more difficult, building a Cloud Desktop, building a cursor, because they do the heavy lifting. They manage the state of the session, and they deal with errors, and they need to retry things. They are the brains that uses LLM as its own brain and connect to and know when to call the tool. But the MCP servers are really easy to create. And basically the task that it will take from you as the developer to create an MCP server is write good documentation. You document how to call the different tools that you expose to the world.
That's the worst part.
Yeah, it is. But you can tell them, you can ask a model to do that for you, right?
Okay, so now I understand how to use an MCP client to essentially not speak with my PM ever again, right? But maybe let's talk about things that are not only developer related. What can I build with these tools that other people can use?
That's a great question, and I think that
A very organic question as
yeah.
well.
So I think MCP uh, is not limited for development use cases in the tradition of programming. It's not only for programming, and you can see that there are lots of cool demos that I've seen online where people connect their Claude to their own production system that they production is in terms of they're producing something.
Like weather APIs or calculators.
No. Let's say there's this cool use case where people connect Claude with their Blender. So Blender is like this software where you create 3D models and you can animate them. And you can see people talking to Claude and asking it to draw a 3D figure and animate it. And it does basic things. It gets you like not even halfway, quarter way there, but it's a capability of Claude. If Claude gets better in these tasks, it would do a much better job in creating Blender figures or 3D models.
It's better than you on Blender, I would say.
It's much better than me. I don't know
And
how.
it's clearly better than me because I just found out what Blender is. So,
Yeah.
by the way, you keep saying Claude. Is it like you said that Anthropic created this protocol? Is it only working for Claude, Claude Desktop, or Cursor, like Claude-based models, or?
So I'll do a bit of order here. So you have Claude is a model, and you have Claude Desktop, which is an app that sits on your desktop and uses only Claude models for
like the name
different
Claude
things.
Desktop suggests,
Yeah.
I would say.
Sure. But you also have Cursor, which is an editor that runs on it's a code editor. It runs on your desktop, and you can choose which models it works with. Every model that supports tool calling can be used with MCP, and the initiator, the system that will know when to call the model and when to use the MCP client is this software that runs on your desktop. And keep on saying desktop. You see, a question here would be, how will MCP work with things that don't run on the desktop, right?
So like models replacing people, like developers, you want to replace me as the host and just ask yourself questions and then answer them. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, that's cool. I will run with you. So what do you mean? If it's just on the desktop, what is the future? How do you put it in things that are not desktop?
Yeah. So you can imagine a world like this is science fiction for now, right? But maybe MCP would be the segue for it. I don't know. We will have to live and see. But you can think of a world where you talk to your chat and say, open a ticket, create a PRD for something. And then an agent will skim through Jira because it has a connection to Jira with MCP. And it will write code and commit it to your Git repository because it has a Git MCP connection. And it will work seamlessly, and we won't need developers in the loop.
Sounds horrible. I would
Yeah,
say.
yeah, I know. It sounds horrible, but it remains to be seen how MCP will work in use cases that are server to server, that don't require a human in the loop or a desktop as a client.
And really, what we said is, if I try to do like a one-liner for that, MCP standardized the tool calling, the connection for the LLM-based applications with external tools, external APIs. Right, that's what it did. And now the question is like what's next? Because everything can't be perfect here. Right?
Yeah.
It's still just the beginning.
Yeah, the one-liner you said that perfectly sums it well.
Really? I understand MCP now?
Now you understand. We can say that you have this.
Yay!
Cool. But if we look forward and what we have now, we need to take into consideration this is an evolving protocol. things are being specified and defined as we speak. So initially, when MCP was released on November 24, it didn't talk about anything in the sense of authorization and authentication. What it said is you have an MCP server, and it's responsible to authenticate with the external resource. But having a client authenticate with the server was something that was intentionally out of scope in the first version of MCP.
Yeah, and 2 weeks from today, we talked about that, and you said now authentication is like that's a problem. Nobody's doing that. And this morning you said something like, "Oh, I have an update."
Yeah, we have an update. So in the later version, they released on March of the March 25. They released an updated version of the protocol, where they addressed the topic of authentication and authorization. And they did a lot of things that got developers and engineers to a debate whether it's a good idea or not, because engineers like to debate and argue. And meanwhile, this company, Cloudflare, took this proposal for authentication really seriously. And they created like their own helpers for taking your MCP server and connecting it with an authorization and authentication provider. So that's used to be a problem. Now it becomes less and less of a problem because different companies are working hard to make it easier to address the whole authentication and authorization in MCP. Recently, what Anthropic did, they released Claude integrations, which is an easy way with the click of a button to integrate your Claude desktop with third-party MCP servers. And now you will probably ask, what about authentication? If it doesn't run, if the MCP server doesn't run on my PC, and we said that things are not perfect between the authentication between the client and the server, what takes care of the authentication? So maybe we should take a step back, okay? Taking a step back about MCP servers. That's an important detail I didn't delve into, but it's MCP servers began as services that ran on your PC. If you have Claude desktop and you want to connect it with Jira, you'll need to run an MCP server of Jira on your PC.
Not good.
Not good. You need to install things, and you need some kind of thing that makes this server run on your PC.
So 5 minutes of implementing, 10 hours of solving this annoying bag of versioning of stuff.
Yeah, you need to look at installation instructions and to install this thing to run on your PC. If you're not a developer, it's going to be not that easy for you. If you're a developer, it might be easy, but if...
You'll probably break the computer on the way.
Yeah, it might happen. So initially, they also created this thing of, they call remote MCP servers. MCP servers that don't run on your PC, but they didn't have this authentication or authorization. Which kind of nice projects were implemented as remote MCP servers? One I can name is Git MCP. It's a cool project that two dudes took upon themselves to make a cursor work with third-party libraries. So, for example, I'm working with Cursor and I want to use this external library that can, let's say, NumPy. And I want Cursor to know the different methods that NumPy has. I need to somehow connect it to the documentation of NumPy. So what the folks in Git MCP did, they said, take the URL of your Git repository that you want your cursor to get familiar with, and take this line of text and put it as an MCP server. It's an MCP server that doesn't run on your PC, but Cursor can use to get more familiar with the library that you want to use. So in this kind of use case, it kind of makes sense that you don't need any authentication or authorization, right?
Yes.
Now let's get back to Jira. You needed to, up until now, to install everything, the MCP server on your PC and provide it with credentials on your PC, and it will be the interface between your cloud to Jira, right?
It runs locally on my PC.
Yeah, the MCP server.
Yes.
And it calls the APIs of Jira.
Mm-hmm.
And recently, what the folks in Anthropic released is they call it cloud integrations, where you just connect it with your Jira. You don't need to install anything, but then you can ask, what about authentication? What about authorization? They also took care of it. When you connect it to your Jira, it will open this oath screen. OAuth.
Never mind, authentication screen.
Yeah, this nice screen in your browser where you say, I'm that guy, and I give this application permissions to reach out to my system. So that's what's going to happen right now. You can, but you don't have to install any MCP server for Jira on your PC. You can use the Atlassian remote MCP server, and the authentication will be an easy thing for you.
I think I had enough of MCP for just about now. Let's maybe think about other protocols, a lot of letters, right? Maybe A2A. This is the hotness, the new one, I guess. I don't know.
Yeah, A2A is the new protocol by Google. Everyone wants to create their own standard and protocol. I think it's a bit different. They also tag it as an MCP complementary. Mm-hmm. Basically, what it is a protocol that aims to standardize communication between agents.
So A2A, agent to agent.
That's right. And you can think of it as a very good form of documentation.
How you like to say that.
Yeah, it's only a documentation where an agent says what it can or can't do and how to communicate with it, which type of input it expects, and how to communicate with it.
Etan, let's wrap this episode up. I'm going to now ask you a series of questions. Just answer, don't overthink it.
Go ahead.
What is MCP?
MCP is a standard that aims to connect your LLM with external tools.
Okay. What are the benefits of that?
Adoption. Everything is much easier to connect with your LLM.
What are the drawbacks of MCP?
It's a bit difficult to install right now. You need to be more technical.
What's the coolest thing you've did with MCP?
I connected an MCP server to my cursor in order to build an MCP server that builds MCP servers. How cool is that?
I bet you're really happy with yourself.
Ooh,
that's the record, I think, for the amount of MCPs in a sentence.
That's what I aim for.
Well, Etan, thank you so much. I really feel like I understand what MCP is right now. It's been a real pleasure having you here. And everybody, stay tuned for our next episodes.